Hi, Jada and Charlie. It's so nice to meet both of you.
Likewise, very
Nice to
nice to
meet.
meet you.
Nice to
Thanks.
meet you.
Congratulations on your Trudy Award for Best Documentary 2018 for your film KEDI. We all really love the film so much, and I know that you've both received several awards in your careers, but I'm sure this one is special because it's the only film award that I'm aware of that's named for a cat. Um, and as a documentary filmmaker, I know that one of the great joys of making a documentary feature is becoming immersed in a community and then sharing that discovery with others. And we all fell in love with the stars of your film, the many different quirky and fearless cats and their human friends. So I know we'd really like to get an update on the cats, how they're doing, and if you've had a chance to go back to visit Istanbul.
We try to stay in touch with them as much as possible because we also, you're right, we fell in love with them as much as you did, and getting to physically be with them during the shoots, we formed some attachments. We both had sort of favorites
Hmm.
and cats that we cared a little bit more or less about, and we've been back. We went back last time about a year and a half ago, and we got to see most of them. Some of them had passed on because of age or some other thing, but most of them are around, and we try to stay in touch with their human counterparts, and we're hopefully going to visit them in about a month or so and see how they're all doing, so we can send some updates.
That's great. Great. And also during the film, towards the end, you mentioned that they were kind of in danger of being displaced because of all of the construction. So, um, how is that going? Are they still
Well,
ruling the territory?
I think they're occasionally displaced, just temporarily displaced, but they seem to find a way back to being a very important part of the city. I can't imagine, and I hope they will never truly go away. And my hope with the film was to document how things are, and and with a wish to preserve how things are. And I think despite the construction and despite the ever-changing nature of the city, the people who live in the city really make a great effort to keep the cats, especially, as true to their nature as possible. And I know that even during the pandemic, there's been a greater emphasis on the part of the inhabitants of the city to bring in the cats indoors and take care of them, because there were curfews and lockdowns where you couldn't go outside for a couple of days at a time. So
Right.
people have really um, embraced the street cats even more.
That's great. Good to hear.
Yeah.
And one of the other things I wanted to talk about, of course, is the cinematography because it's really beautiful. It's quite amazing, and that includes the cat's eye view from the streets to the shots on the water, which definitely reminded me of shooting in Venice, and then the aerial shots of the rooftops of Istanbul, where the cats also rule. Um, and I was wondering when you made the decision to shoot from the cat's perspective and what were the challenges in that process. Can you talk about that,
Well, I'm gonna
Charlie?
end.
Yeah, please.
I'm we obviously looked at a lot of nature documentaries and other documentaries about animals before we headed out to film, and there was definitely, there's a documentary about lions, and it's shot all with like long lenses from far away because nobody wants to get that close, of
Right.
course. But with the cats, we knew they're so comfortable with people, and you can be so close to them. So we really wanted to get into their world and film them with wide angle lenses from their perspective. And I think the other major decision we made on very early on was that we didn't want humans to be the main actors or main characters. It was
Mm,
really the cats. So we like, even if we never see the people, just their feet, we want to be with the cats and experience Istanbul from their perspective. So that's where we came up with the over the shoulder following the cats and all these kind of shots.
For which you had to create a new rig.
Well, yeah, I mean, to not break your back, we
yeah.
some contraptions together. And then in terms of the aerials, we were we realized if you just see everything from the cat's perspective, you never get a sense of how big the city is, and you need to get out and get away from the narrow streets and alleys just to see the scale and the size of the city. So, and I think in the editing it turned out this really nice transition, like gave you a second to breathe and
Yes.
Yeah,
it is breathtaking. It's beautiful, and it's great to see all the different neighborhoods too. It was just really beautifully shot. So, thank you for that. Yeah. And another question I had was about the music. I really loved the music, and I know that you've done some music videos, Charlie, but did you work with the composer to create different motifs for the film, or how did that work, that process?
Well, our wonderful composer, Kira Fontana, she had worked with us in putting together some score for the trailer that we made for the film initially about a year earlier when we were securing funding and securing participants for the film. And so we returned to work with her. And she knew I was very adamant that we didn't create a Turkish sound, just because I wanted to convey the notion that these cats are, you know, eternally in that place, and they don't belong to a particular nation of people or a geographic location necessarily even. And there's she proposed, and through identifying pieces of music that we liked, she found a way to capture their lightness and their presence with this chimey. It's all percussions. It's all chimey percussions in her score, which then creates that ethereal feeling and yet playful cat nature. And I was very keen to find pieces of music that were either by Turkish musicians who were influenced by Western music, and Western musicians who were influenced by Turkish music, to also once again bring forth that idea that Istanbul and cats are part of this East meets West persona of Istanbul. They fit into that personality as well. And so there's a lot of songs that are very significant to Turkish audiences, where they pick up nostalgic music.
Yes, I recognize.
And then there's some that are recognizable to Western audiences, like Eartha Kitt's, and some, British jazz musicians that people might recognize. And so that was an effort to create a sense of familiarity and a sense of an emotional response from the audience for the cats and the stories.
Great. And you also mentioned that you have 2 children and that they were involved in the process of making the film. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Well, I was pregnant with our first daughter while we were filming. And I have to say it was the most wonderful experience because, the cats would come and purr on my big belly. And I had a sense that they knew what was happening. So there was a lot of times they were very welcoming to me. I think they sensed that I could be the least dangerous human to them. And it also helped with the human interviews, to be honest with you. People are a lot more seemingly very open to pregnant women. So it's not a hindrance for female filmmakers. And ironically, when I was pregnant with our second daughter, we were promoting the film a lot, and both our daughters have seen the film multiple times, and our older daughter would give feedback from the beginning while we were editing things like that. And they their favorite game is to play cat, so they frequently meow around the house.
That's great. I love it. The last thing I wanted to ask you, because we don't have a lot of time, is what you're both working on now. What are you working on currently? If you can tell us a little bit about current projects.
Our next documentary project that we're doing together is on divination and fortune telling, and around the world. The approach to we'd like to capture practices of divination around the world, but also bring up conversations around the themes of existence and our relationship to the divine, our relationship to each other, to our own subconscious and the collective subconscious. So there's some fun themes that we're exploring through the practice of divination around the world. Hopefully we're going to start shooting something over the summer in Turkey as well, and to see the cats, and we have some fictional narrative projects that we're working on as well.
Great. And how about you, Charlie? Anything else that you're doing? Are you going to do another James Corden karaoke?
At the moment, no, but yeah, I'm always shooting other projects and do a lot of commercials and music videos and the occasional other documentary. But yeah, it's been slow the last year.
I know there's really been nothing, but we're really
picking up, and I think it's going to be a busy year.
Great. Well, we're looking forward to it. We're really looking forward to seeing your next film, and thank you again for joining us for the Chlotrudis Awards, and congratulations.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.